Picture a 4X strategy game in the style of Civilization, set in antiquity, and only in antiquity. Instead of single, immortal rulers, imagine dynasties of unique characters ebbing and flowing with the passage of time. Envision a dynamic events system that cares as much about your nation's internal narrative as it does about whom you conquer. Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. And welcome to Old World, developed by Mohawk Games and releasing to early access on the Epic Game Store this Tuesday, May 5th. In this video, we'll briefly summarize what's most exciting about the game in a bit more detail than I gave you at the start. Then, for the majority of the video, I'll show you some gameplay, which will kick off a daily episodic series after that for a little while. Very quickly, thanks to the good people at Mohawk for giving me a preview build to play and share with the channel. It's been far too long since I've covered historical strategy, and this is a perfect way to dive back in, so thank you guys. Since the game is not even in its early access period yet, I'm going to focus on preview-style coverage rather than critique. If you want to skip to the gameplay portion, use the timestamps marked below. If this is your first time seeing footage of the game, I definitely recommend against skipping the game setup, as seeing those options is really cool, but you can if you want. What else is really cool? So much. There's a lot to unpack, and I want to make the opening summary bearable for those of you who want to hear it but also really want to see the game, so here's the long and short of it. Old World was originally announced as 10 Crowns, which some of you may remember from a few years back. Mohawk's preview summary says this about the game. Old World is a turn-based historical strategy game in the tradition of the Civilization series. It threads together classic Civ-style 4X gameplay mechanics with Crusader Kings' character-driven procedural narrative, while also innovating in both of these spaces. Players choose an ancient empire to found, starting with a historical ruler as the head of their royal dynasty. The lead designer of Old World is Soren Johnson, who was the co-designer of Civilization 3 and the lead designer of Civilization 4. Now that last bit is really going to turn some heads, as Civilization 4 retains a passionate fan base despite 2 sequels and multiple expansions to each of those sequels having come out since. What got my attention? 2 things. First, that Old World by design creates an experience that Civilization, for me, has always failed to create, which is the deep era. This is a Civilization-style experience that makes a deliberate attempt to lengthen and deepen the amount of time spent in a specific period of human history, something that can be difficult to pull off effectively in that classic franchise. Old World is not even officially in early access yet, so we won't know for some time how far into the classical era the game's timeline and technology will track. But given its title, Old World, it's safe to assume the game doesn't plan to wander too close to the medieval era. Now for the elephant in the room. Is this just a Civ clone set in the ancient and classical eras? Based on the interviews and press materials that I've read and on some preliminary time with the gameplay build, the answer to that question is an unequivocal no. This game is different. I mentioned 2 things got my attention a moment ago. The second is the game's dynamic event system, and Soren Johnson's outspokenness about the importance of a strong narrative and a less predictable, less on rails path to victory. As early access launches, the game already has over 1,000 unique events. Let me give you that one more time. Early access is launching with over 1,000 events already in the game. And since your rulers grow old and die or get assassinated, how you manage family and political affairs is now as much a part of the game as moving units across hexes. This is a game that cares about story in a way that Civilization doesn't. So no, this is not a Civ clone. As the summary states, the game is not at all shy about introducing bold new mechanics. New systems such as orders and legitimacy. Orders meaning the amount of moves that you can make in a turn being determined by the legitimacy of your ruler, which is how much the population approves of your rule, which can amplify how much you can accomplish in a single turn. You have leaders that die, and you have to make sure that their children survive, but whether or not a specific line survives, shifts in power, not just the random map seed, give you a different story every single time you play a game of Old World. There's the buying and selling of resources, which is very familiar to my Stellaris viewers, for example, or if you've played any game where you can buy and sell in a game-wide market the resources that you make per turn. And then, of course, we have this melding of the more than 1,000 dynamic events and the turn-based strategy format of the game, which is unique compared to others in the space. It's really significant that Mohawk's press packet for the game includes direct callouts to Civilization and Crusader Kings. That's a statement. They can use genre terminology to capture a description of these systems without name-dropping other games that are leaders in these spaces. But by name-dropping those games, Mohawk has put the 4X and Grand Strategy communities on notice to say, we are going for an end product that these players will enjoy, that these passionate fans of these established franchises will really like. Now, there is, of course, so much more to discuss about what is unique and exciting about this title, but rather than discussing it and talking about it for too much longer, I would like to go ahead and show you some gameplay of my own. A couple of really important caveats to cover before I jump in and do that, though. First of all, obviously, this is a pre-early access development build. Please bear that in mind as we go forward with this series and with this game on the channel. This is feeling like a game that I would like to cover as it develops, but this is the very first video for this game on the channel. Early access has not even started yet. There will be bugs. There will be things that don't work right. There will be kinks to be ironed out. You should expect that, and you should not judge the game on those particular flaws, given that it's still in development and these first few recordings are going to take place before early access is even available. So just know that if you're looking at, do you want to jump in on this early access or do you want to wait? This is actually pre-early access footage by a couple of days. Secondly, I have played enough to get familiar with some of the systems that I talked about with you. I've played enough to get a feel for the game and going through my turns and what kind of units can be built and what kind of buildings can be constructed in cities. But I haven't gone much farther because I want to experience it for the first time in the series. So I'm going to be exploring this game with you for the most part. I'll explain what I can based on what I know, but we're also going to be feeling our way through it. We can talk about it in the comments section. I will sometimes ask open questions if there's something that I don't particularly understand well or seems confusing. The game's tooltips, like a Paradox game, actually are very, very thorough and nice, but there is that just to know as well. I will be playing as a new player. This is not meant as an instructional how to play old world type of series. And then finally, for that reason, we're going to play on a fairly low difficulty, just so that we can really explore and poke around and see what this does and what that does, and have the game not hit back too hard when we test its boundaries. So let's go to new game. And first, we're going to cover very quickly who the different leaders are. You can play as Ashurbanipal of Assyria, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia, Dido of Carthage, Hatshepsut of Egypt, Philip of Greece, Cyrus of Persia, or Romulus of Rome. And yes, of course, Remus is still alive. He's a scheming bastard. You'll see this in a moment. But remember that leaders die. So these are just your starting leaders. You will not play as these people for all time in Old World. It's a completely different approach to things. You see, we have some starting bonuses as Rome. And yes, of course, we are definitely going to play as Rome. We gain additional experience, double experience, plus 100% for all units during combat. And then we have some starting technologies as well. Ironworking, which unlocks the melee and infantry warrior unit. Divination, which unlocks the shrine. And aristocracy, which unlocks ambassadors right away. We have the Hastatus and the legionary unique units as Rome. There are other unique units as well. For instance, just to give you an example, for Persia, you have the Paltan cavalry and the cataphract archer. For Greece, we have the hoplite, of course, and the phalangite. And then we have, for Egypt, the light chariot. Yeah, you would expect chariots. And then the Cushite cavalry. I'm going to go through all of these. I'm curious now. Battering ram for Assyria and siege tower. So interesting. Siege-related units. Akkadian archer and Cimmerian archer. So some artwork still being put in there. African elephants and turreted elephants for Carthage. Interesting. And of course, we have 4 political families. We have Fabius, Claudius, Valerius, and Julius for the 4 political families, and how those factor in to political developments and how the balance of power works in the nation, I'm a little bit familiar with and we'll learn more about as we go. Now, the really exciting part about starting a new game right now is that the advanced setup is already pretty robust. So for the game type, let's stick with 4 opponents. For a nation, let's stick with Rome. For barbarians, I'm going to go with normal. I've played so far on weak just to kind of keep them off my back, but the normal raid chance, as you can see there, is not much worse. Looks like if you go with strong, they have an additional fatigue point, which would make them on more of an even footing with Rome, because Rome also gets that additional fatigue point as a nation bonus. Now, for succession, If we wanted to go purely historically accurate, we would go with agnatic. Only male descendants can inherit. I'm going to keep it on agnatic cognatic, really just to give myself the additional degree of freedom. Like if a male character dies, especially because we are still in an early version of the game, a character can die for a silly reason. I would like the possibility for daughters to inherit if there's not a male. So we're going to deviate slightly for the purpose of making things interesting and fun and potentially having some female rulers if we don't have a male ruler that can come in and take over. So that could be an interesting way to mix things up and see how the game presents that. And then development-wise, we can say that characters do not frequently die young. Or that's mortality. Development-wise, we have, let's see. Okay, so existing nations start with the least cities. Existing nations start with a few more cities. Existing nations start with even more cities and massive. Okay, so let's say fledgling for now so that we can truly have an exploratory game. For difficulty, the able is the lowest. It goes with the just, the strong, the good, the strong, the noble, the glorious, the magnificent, and the great. I think I'm just going to start with the just. I'll step up from the able, which is what I played on when I was first getting my hands dirty with the build. But again, we're going to play on a nice, easy difficulty to take our baby steps. And then we have our map size of medium. We can use a map script. The map script default is seaside. What is this use map? Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's a toggle. This doesn't appear to be a toggle, but it is. So you either use the map script or use a map, and you can specifically say that you want to play a certain type of map. Okay, you can plug in a seed if you like, but we're not going to do that. AI only, no tribes, no fog of war, lock save, no undo. Oh, cool. I didn't even know that undo was a thing. We're going to have to figure that out. Disable tutorial and randomized families. We are going to leave the tutorial on because it will be helpful for you guys, even if there's stuff that I have not necessarily, or that I've worked through already. So let's start the game. Urban buildings on the coast need only be adjacent to one other urban building. Okie doke. Oh, wow. Rome is literally going to be a coastal city. That's interesting. So one thing to note right away as we jump into this very first turn, and this is turn-based. We don't have any time going by. We don't have to pause the game. It is in the style of civilization, completely turn-based. One turn is 1 year also. So again, deep eras, much more focused on creating extended periods of gameplay in the ancient and classical eras in this particular case. How much farther they go than that remains to be seen. Again, I don't think they'll approach the medieval era, too closely, but they could surprise me. We'll find out. So we can found our capital, and every city in the game can be kind of led by one of the 4 different political families. And you have to make sure that you balance these as you found new cities. So we can found a capital that will give us additional, let's see what this resource is. Training rate. Okay, so this icon here gives us additional training, the ability to train. This is the resource we use to build military units. So if we go with Fabius right away, then we would actually have more training per year. If we went with Claudius, then we would produce a little bit more food per year. Valerius would produce more civics, which is used to develop specialists and finish projects. Unused civics go into the national stockpile, which can be used to enact laws and establish theologies. Okay. And then the Julius provides us with, for all cities that are part of the Julii family, we get an additional order per year. That's what that scroll means. We have 8 orders to begin here. Orders can be, as you can see here, spent on various actions such as moving, attacking, and building improvements. Unused orders are sold for money at the end of the year. And then this is the current legitimacy of King Romulus as we begin here. So something to note, as I was going to say a moment ago before I started going over the different families, is that cities in this game appear so far to be constrained to existing hovels. So these hovels of like kind of pre-civilization settlements exist at certain points on the map, and those are where you build your cities. So it's an interesting change of mechanics in that you kind of have your potential city settlement sites predetermined. That being said, you have multiple hovels, as you see here, that you can actually found the city on. So part of me is curious, like, so this is fresh water. This is also fresh water because it's on a river. Part of me wants to move back to this tile because the river surrounds the city at 4 different points. It would be a little bit more difficult to attack us and less coming from these 2 specific directions. I kind of like that idea. So I'm going to move the settler there. Now notice, I used an order to do that, but I can still, there's a certain limit to how much you can move 1 unit in a turn. It's different from civilization in that you can move units bunches of times as long as you have orders to do it, but there are also hard limits on how many times the units can move because obviously they're human, they can only do so much. You can force march units, but that's another discussion. So I think I'm going to go, this is Rome, so I'm going to go with Fabius to begin because we are going to be kind of military in nature. Okay, orders are an important feature of Old World. Units can move multiple times each turn, but each move consumes 1 order. Other actions such as attacking or building also consume orders. Your remaining orders can be seen in the lower left corner of your screen. We recommend that you first select your worker so that you may begin to improve your land before you spend all your orders for the turn. I'll have to consider how to use my orders carefully each turn. Okay, so we now have a worker. Roma has been founded. Workers build improvements for your city. Rural improvements such as farms and mines, gather raw materials. Urban improvements such as barracks or shrines provide training or culture. Okay, let's get to work. We'll go back and look at culture in cities in a moment. So we have a couple of different things we can build. Nets would provide a couple of additional culture per turn. That's what that icon is. Here, we'll go ahead and select Rome so that you can see this. So these icons here, this is food per turn. When a city's growth fills up, the city gains a new citizen. Basic ways to improve growth include training farmers and baths. And then culture. When a city's culture fills up, a positive event occurs. The city's overall culture level affects what improvements and wonders can be built. Improve culture by building shrines and theaters. So right now, we are actually not gaining... The tooltip shifted to orders for a minute there. That's weird. We are not gaining any culture per turn in Rome right now. And then discontent. Cities gain discontent over time. When a city's discontent fills up, its overall discontent level goes up, which increases maintenance and reduces growth. Use festivals to reduce discontent, which are repeatable events. You can select them right here. So having said that, we've got a couple of options. Now we have some civilization-style terrain recommendations, which I'm probably going to follow for the most part as we begin. I'll take a look kind of at what these things are giving me. All right, so it seems like there are pearls here. That would provide me a lot of food, a lot more, well, actually the same that a farm would, but it would also provide me culture. So I'm going to give the order for this worker to go there. Notice that they moved immediately, and I can still order them to build nets. So this is going to take 20 food. It's going to take 3 years, or 3 turns, which is not too bad. Scouts are fantastic explorers and can see further into the unknown. They can also hide in trees, making them invaluable as an early warning against invading enemies. Interesting. I didn't catch that the first time I played. Send your scout out into the wilderness and look for new city-states and mysterious ancient ruins. I'll use my scouts to explore the world. So again, because you have all of these orders, now we only have 3 left, but because you have all of these, you can send this scout around a good bit. Notice that the tile that I highlight, also there are a couple of different indicators. There is the actual tooltip over the tile, which says 1 order, 2 orders, or 3 orders, but there's also the different sets of borders that represent the scout's movement range. So you can see this color represents the 1 order movement range. These represent the 2, and these represent the 3. And I could have them go all the way down here to the Po River city site right away, which I'm actually going to do. That's a new city site, and I want to find out if anything else is nearby. Your scout has moved onto some game, a harvestable resource. Your scout can spend an order to yield a small amount, of materials. Harvesting is a great way to boost my early economy. Well, I just used my last order, so I'm not doing that. Now, we can go ahead and choose research. You can hit tab to go to the contextual order anytime you want. So briefly, I didn't mention in the opening of the video, but I did have on the information about the game of novel mechanics, deck-based technology system. The way this works is that we have just been given these 3 options. Obviously, the game is making a recommendation. That's very nice. We can look at the tech tree if we want to really get a sense for which one we would like to pursue. But here's the thing. Once we pick one of these, the other 2 will be discarded, and until we have made enough choices for the deck to be reshuffled, the options will not come up again, interestingly enough. So I'm going to just go with the recommendation for now as a new player. As much as I kind of want to play with the tech tree, which we will look at in a moment before we end the first turn, as much as I want to play with the tech tree and show you like what different options we might have and try and play the game more strategically, for now we'll play like a new Civ player would and go with recommendations. So this is the administration. This is going to unlock treasury and granary, and will be done in 4 years. Now, we've been given the option to end the year. Yes, we have discovered aristocracy, divination, and ironworking because we, in fact, are Rome. And now we see our current victory conditions, score, and ambitions. Ambitions will cover when they come up. Might come up this episode, maybe the next one. This is our family. So I'm just going through up here, F3 through, all the way through F9. F9 is the help screen. But F2 is actually our family. So Ilia the Romantic is our mother. She's 44. She's an orator. And of course, Romulus and Remus are her kids. And Romulus is a schemer. Interesting. So this time, Romulus is the schemer and Remus is the tactician. I mentioned a moment ago, and now I am being swiftly corrected by the game. This is somewhat randomized. So this is interesting in a way because this might mean he's less likely to mess with my kids, which he definitely did when I first played, which was really surprising, but at the same time really interesting and fun. So a lot going on here. Let's see if we can figure out what some of these interface elements are. So the highest place is number 2 with the law of seniority. So this is, I guess this is our, all right, this indicates what place they are in line. So this is our current heir because there's no one else that can inherit. Once King Romulus has a son, we can change that, however. So, unfortunately, because I use my orders up, I can't arrange for a marriage this turn. We'll have to wait. So Remus might get married before we do. He might beat us to the punch on producing an heir. But it's okay. As soon as we have a son, we will be able to designate them, or we'll automatically designate them, in fact, as the heir because of the laws. So this is our family right now. Our current laws, we can go with centralization or vassalage. So this provides, looks like, additional civics in the capital city and some additional science. And then vassalage means 50% less unit consumption. What is unit consumption? Maybe food, things that they need to be maintained, maintenance costs, I'm guessing. Sounds like maintenance costs. Let's keep going. State religions. Currently in the game, there's Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, and Manichaeism. And then it looks like there are multiple kind of religious technologies and benefits. Interesting. All right, these are all... So you have these options across all of these, so you can kind of customize religions. I'm not even necessarily sure what these lines mean and which ones I'm able to pick here, and maybe how one choice might preclude another choice, might prevent me from making another choice. That's interesting. I'm not sure. Okay. So we have a game log on, what's this? Is that F5? Okay. It should be F5, but F5 is actually not bound to it. F6 is our tech tree. So you can look at the full tech tree. We're not going to examine it in detail, but you can see that the end techs, we have political reform here, vaulting, jurisprudence, and barding. That's for the kind of military track. I suppose that's, well, I don't know if there aren't tracks like you would see. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot going on. I'm seeing crossbows down here, but I'm seeing horsemen up here, or rather phalanx up here. So there's different kinds of developments spread across the entire tree. We have military reform here. Then we have economic reform here. Fiscal policy, Sarissa, Cataphract. Okay. So we're definitely, okay, longbowmen here, interestingly enough. Here's the swordsman. I'm guessing this would give us the legionary when it launches. So we're definitely in the classical era by the end of the tech tree in the current version of the game. This is our cities list. We currently only have Rome, so we won't worry about this too much, but we can see all of the stats of the city as it currently is. And then, of course, we have a map that we can look at, like so. Zoom in and out, drag it around, and get more of a classical style map of the game. So, having gone over that, let's see. I don't think there's much else to do this year. Let's go ahead and end the year. We can press 5 to do that. Okay, now we're being asked to make a choice between centralization or vassalage. Nobles in the court insist that we clarify our stance on administration. Do we support policies of centralization or vassalage? How shall we decree? Centralization will strengthen our power. So again, this gives us additional science per turn. Vassalage perhaps reduces unit maintenance. That's what I'm guessing unit consumption means, but we'll find out. And we could say we will not decide right now, or the court will choose the laws. I kind of like the idea of having the science bonus, so I'm going to say centralization will strengthen our power. And I believe that made the choice for us. Let's take a quick look. Yep, centralization. So we consumed... Where is it? Yeah, we consumed a fair amount of civics to make that happen. We only have 8 now, but we're making 10 per turn. Looks like we need to get some iron mining, though. Shouldn't be too difficult. Now, our scout can now look around again. We have this brand new city to explore, and there's a... Oh, first things first, though. First things first. Get married. For God's sake, get married. Okay. You need to have a son. All right, let's go ahead and move the scout to the hilltop here. Oh, hey! Looks like we found what you might call a goody hut. Ancient ruins. Our explorers discover a group of orphaned, homeless, and hungry children hiding in the ruins. If we leave them, they will surely starve to death, but our cities are on the verge of overcrowding. There is room in our caravan for either salvaged stone or passengers. What would you have us do? Rome cannot become a home for charity. So we gain 50 stone, and Romulus becomes cruel. So there's a governor bonus that looks like it would reduce food per year. Is that what that is? I don't think that's food. I think that's something else. Or maybe growth. Growth. That's what that is. That's growth. That's not food. That's growth. That's food. That icon is food, but that icon is growth. King Romulus, the founder, becomes gracious. +2 charisma. Global modifier of +4. Interesting. Civics per turn. Then we can always use citizens in Roma. So we gain child labor in Roma. And then what is that icon? Is that just the icon of... Oh, because that's the icon of the particular city. That's the family icon, the Fabius icon. So we could go ahead and we could be really cruel and say, no, we're just going to get these rocks. We could be a little cruel and say child labor, or we can say we'll shelter them and become gracious. But notice that the other families will like us less if we do this. So politically, that might not be the best move. It'll be perceived as maybe soft, and maybe we don't want to make that in our very first turns. So let's say child labor. We can always use citizens in Roma. Yeah, we're going there. We're going there, Legion. It's happening. We're gonna have child labor in this first episode of this brand new game on the channel. So let's see what else we can find here. Notice I just gave 1 order, and I still have the ability to move 1 more time before the scout's exhausted. So let me move right next to those elephants. And now I can march him if I want, which uses training. 50 training, to be exact. But I don't have to. Tutorial warrior selected. The warrior is the first melee unit available to your nation. Melee units will form the backbone of your army, defending you from enemy tribes and nations. I'll use warriors for early combat. Now we have 3 orders, so I'm going to go ahead and tell them to come over here to this stone. Not because I can do anything with it, it's not a scout, but because I just want to see what's there. We're going to poke our heads through there, but we're not going to scout too much with the warrior. Let's go ahead and end the turn. A new marriage proposal from Fabius has arrived for King Romulus, the founder. What is our answer? So we can go with Rhea Fabia, the younger, or Calpurnia Fabia, the commander. It's saying 2 different options are the best option. Let's see. Okay, Rhea Fabia is 19. Calpurnia Fabia is 18. She's a commander. Dowry will give us 15 training. Both will. The Fabius family will like us. Rhea Fabia would... Or she's a ranger, so as a general, she fights from trees. So these are both generals, interestingly enough. Either that or these are benefits that Romulus would get as a general. Although I think these are benefits that belong to these female characters. So, let's see. I like the idea of fighting from trees the most. Let's go with Rhea Fabia the Younger. And we are now married. Queen Consort Rhea Fabia, age 19. Romulus is 24. Remus is 24. Again, Ilia is 46. And we will see if they can make some babies so that we can actually have an heir. You have accepted a marriage proposal for a member of your family. Marriages are a useful diplomatic tool for forming bonds with other families, tribes, and nations. They will also allow your family to continue their line with legitimate heirs who will be eligible to take over once your current ruler is gone. I'll make sure to find good matches for my family. Cool. All right, so what's going on? Okay, Rome is building another settler automatically. So you can see just from, if I hit escape, there we go. I was seeing if I could left click or right click away from it, but I can't. You can see that there's a settler. It's going to take 2 more years for it to train, and then we will be able probably to just bring someone down to this city site, because that seems like a pretty good idea. We need more scouts too, but let's go to the next unit. This scout is, of course, able to move again. I'm going to put him on this hilltop. Oh, beautiful. Looks like we've got some horses right there. Let's see what resources we've spotted. We've got horses all over the place. I see some deer, so we can probably put a camp up there. Yep, camps are a thing, as you would expect from a game with a civilization-based pedigree. All right, we can still explore more. I still have orders. Let's send you all the way this way. Ooh, we just found some gems. And I think I'm going to put you right next to the gems. Aha! A strange man from an unknown tribe shuffles into your court. Looking everywhere but at you, he suggests that unless you're able to demonstrate your munificence, the Numidians will take everything from you. What do you say? Fine, take this and go, or begone, you wretch. So we can pretty much declare war with the Numidians right away. I think this is not a nation. This is kind of a more primitive tribe relative to Rome. So we can literally go to war with the Numidians almost immediately. We can say, fine, take this and go, or we can say, begone, you wretch. You know what? Let's make things interesting and say, begone, you wretch. You are now at war with the Numidians. So much for baby steps. Let's let's move you here. Notice that they just take up this one slot, and they definitely look a little bit less advanced. All right, and then our next unit is this warrior, which we can go ahead and give the order. Can I see what I could be able to do against them? Hang on. It's a little bit tough to get the tooltip to stay up. Okay, here we go. Does it tell me what we would do against them? Or how we would do? Interesting. So if I got here, I would be better able to attack them. Although I think one thing I need to do, unit must be level 2. Let's go ahead and promote this unit. Horsebane. Yep, we're going to give them Horsebane. Our war unit has been hard at work training for battle, and they are ready to take orders. Will you take the role of general and lead them? No, I'm needed in the capital. Let's not risk Remus's life too much yet in this initial war. So, now of course we can force move them if I wanted to. Oh, wait, no, I can't. Interestingly enough, I can't promote them again either. So, can't do anything this turn, but I will be able to perhaps attack the Numidians next turn. Okay, looks like we're done there. So now we have the option to build a Shrine of Mars. Well, we can build anything we want anywhere, but there are definitely recommendations from the game. We are still losing, what is this, stone? Iron rate. So let's go ahead and send you here. We're getting a mine going. That's also going to take 3 years. And then this scout, I'm going to put him on this hilltop. Nice. Vulgar speech. Graffiti are scrawled across this ruined structure. One of our court scholars recognizes it as vulgar speech, a Latin dialect used by the lower classes of several extinct tribes. There are very few examples of this traditionally unwritten language. So we can display the graffiti in our palace yard and gain 30 culture immediately in Roma. We can study the writing and try to replicate it. Or we can say vulgar language should be lost, replace it with my royal sigil, and gain some legitimacy. Again, legitimacy will allow us to have more orders and do more per turn. Display the graffiti in our palace yard. I like the idea of more culture for Rome. Let's do that. I'll be more cultured sooner. Ooh, we found barbarians. Yay. I don't know why I'm excited about that, but yay. Okay, cool. I was kind of hoping that that would be on the other side of the forest, so now we have a little bit better visibility. Let's move you here too. Still have 9 orders. So let's go to the next unit. I'm going to order these guys to come over here. All right, now this is their attack power, 6.4. They have Horsebane, which is giving them a buff. Now, because the Numidians are fighting from a hovel, they also have a buff, but their base strength is lower than ours, and we we have more combat bonuses than them. So let's go ahead and initiate combat. We've done some damage to them. I'm fairly certain that combat is kind of back and forth. So notice no damage was done to me, but in the following turn, they will be able to attack me. So I think that's how it works. That's what I've observed so far. I think. Maybe. We'll see. All right, so we have the notifications in the game so far. Kind of remind me of the notifications in Civ 6 in that there are these icons down here in kind of an obscure corner of the screen, and you can definitely overlook them if you're not careful. So we did sell 9 orders for 89. I'm guessing denarii last turn. Does it say specifically? No, it doesn't say denarii. We're going to say denarii, but there's that. And then nets. We're finished. Yep, I knew that. And then we got the additional culture in Rome. So what does that mean? We're very close to having that positive event pop up in Rome. And we may have it pop up in another couple years. All right. Tutorial nation contact. You've encountered a rival nation. Other nations are your primary opponents in Old World. However, successfully engaging them diplomatically can lead to gaining a powerful trade partner and ally. It will be up to you to decide which nations are worthy of being your allies and which should simply be conquered. I'll do my best to make some friends. So we've met Carthage. Ooh, of course we met Carthage in the first episode of this series, because why wouldn't we? Good Lord. All right, discovered administration. Nice. So we'll have a new research choice soon. So we've trained a settler. Good. Princess Lucilia Fabia, your daughter was born. Okay, excellent. Or Lucilla, not Lucilia. Oh, that gives me good Gladiator vibes. That makes me happy. Lucilla is the name of Carney Nielsen's character in Gladiator, which is my favorite movie of all time. Anyway, I digress. So we did sell some more orders. So we're not necessarily doing everything with our orders every turn, so we might be sacrificing some efficiency if there's in fact anything else that I can do. Seems like the Numidians are about to die. You've met Carthage. Okay, tutorial succession. Your family line has a new heir, Princess Lucilla Fabia. Training strong heirs will be vital for the survival of your nation, as once your current ruler is gone, someone will need to take the reins. Once your heir has grown up a bit, you'll be able to choose a subject for them to study, guiding them into the role you need them to fulfill. Your family is able to do more than rule, though. Employing them as governors and counselors can be powerful options as you build your court. This is a day for celebration. We got more culture, which means we're going to get a positive event in Rome. Definitely. Like next turn. Not 2 turns. Next turn. Your second city. Your capital is finished training a new settler. Settlers are the key to expanding your territory by founding new cities. Take this settler to a nearby city site to establish a new city. When you found your city, you'll have to choose which family to grant it to. This family will provide powerful bonuses to the city, so consider carefully before making your selection. I'll choose my nation's next family carefully. Yeah, so that is essentially how the political system, at least the groundwork of it, is laid, is the family that you allow to settle each city. Let's go ahead and finish off the Numidians here. Our troops discover a series of burial mounds outside the conquered Numidians' camp. The contents are lavish and richly ornamented. Many in the ranks wish to loot the ancient site, but some worry that such action would bring about dark omens. Loot everything, so the Numidians would not like me for 25 years, but we just conquered them, so not sure I care. Although there might be more Numidians around. The Numidians can have multiple kind of sites like that. We must not incur the wrath of the spirits. So we would gain discipline as King Romulus, but less money immediately. Let's go ahead and say we must not incur the wrath of the spirits. Let's show a little bit of restraint. And this is now a city site, which I was kind of hoping for. So that's pretty fantastic. I'm going to select this settler and send them over here. Okay, I can't actually send them all the way, but that's fine. Can I march them? Yes, I can. Beautiful. I can't march these guys, or can I? Your warrior is on cooldown and cannot take any more actions this turn. Cooldowns come from combat, construction, or other actions. Your warrior will be available again next turn. I'll try again next year. Okay, so now we can choose what we're building in Rome. We also have the option of choosing research, which we'll do next. Do I build another scout? I kind of feel like another scout would be nice. You have the option of building a militia, which cannot train or earn XP, but appears to be... has ZOC, Zone of Control, I'm guessing that means? Yeah, ZOC is Zone of Control. Okay. Movement 2, Strength 3, as compared to Movement 2, Strength 4. But it consumes food as opposed to iron. So I guess this is the maintenance cost. You have iron there and food there. So I guess unit consumption is the maintenance cost, as I was expecting. Let's go with another scout. I want to spend some more time looking around. Did we queue that up? Oh, yes, we did. Okay. So here's the queue at the bottom of the screen. Choose research. Right now we have the option to go with stone cutting, trapping, labor force, or rhetoric. I'm going to continue to follow the game's recommendations. I will show you the tech tree just so that we can really visualize this. We finished our research into administration. So now we can build the treasury and the granary, which, when they're adjacent to farms, provide additional... What icon is that? It says wood. Maybe adjacent farms produce additional food if they're next to a granary, but it costs wood to build, and it costs wood to maintain. And then the treasury leads to treasury 2 and gives me additional gold per year. Okay, so now we have the option of choosing between stone cutting, trapping, labor force, and rhetoric. Let's go with trapping. This is going to unlock the slinger and give us the ability to build camps, which we do need the ability to build camps. Roma has reached developing, a new culture level. Higher tiers of culture unlock additional improvements and wonders for your cities. Each new tier will also trigger a positive event for the city. Today, a group of laborers has decided to join your workforce, granting you a new worker. I'll put them to work right away. Awesome. Holy crap, that's cool. So we've got this mine going here. I could go ahead and build a Shrine of Mars here, which would give me culture and training per year, or I can build a farm here, which would give me more food per year. Food per year is at +3. But I assume that more food per year will help with growth, right? I mean, why wouldn't it? I'm sure that's the case. All right, so let's see if we can go alongside this Carthaginian scout here. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to take that from you. Sorry. You're now known as the Explorer. Hey, we got a title. Cool. Lots of good stuff happening in this first episode. Our expedition approaches an ancient monument. The structure appears to be the tomb of a great leader. An inscription reads, "Passerby, whoever you may be, I was once king of kings, grudge me not, therefore this piece of earth that covers my body. Leave the tomb undisturbed. There'll be no king but me, destroy it. Let us study the preservation rituals." So we can study the preservation rituals and get more research in a lump sum right away. Which would actually give us trapping immediately if we did that. I really like that idea. Let's do that. Here's another Numidian camp, as I mentioned. Let's get on this hilltop. I'm going to keep ordering you through the woods. So notice that when you're in the woods, your visibility and movement range per movement for the unit is dramatically changed. Tutorial on legitimacy. Your cognomen has changed to the Explorer. Your cognomen describes your recent accomplishments, and improving it increases your legitimacy in the eyes of your people. Higher legitimacy grants you additional orders and improves your standing with your nation's families. Keeping your legitimacy high is important for controlling a larger empire. I'll show them who's legitimate. Some of the responses in the game are a little tongue-in-cheek. It's great. Let's take a look at our family situation. Duke Remus still hasn't married, interestingly enough. I'm kind of surprised by that. So we currently have, this is our heir, Princess Lucilla Fabia. But again, because of our inheritance laws, as soon as a son is born, which I'm assuming these two are having a good time, and they'll get around to it in another turn or two, that will become the primary heir, and she will become the secondary heir, and then Duke Remus will become the third heir in the back. So let's go ahead. I can't move you just yet, can I? No, I can't. Gotta end the year. Yes, we did finish that technology, so now we can go with sovereignty, husbandry, stone cutting, or monasticism. Part of me is tempted to go with stone cutting because it's a precursor to being able to build, I think, is it chancellors? Hang on. Yeah, you need chancellors in order to imprison people. So if, let's say, Duke Remus decided he wanted to start killing my children because he's jealous, which is totally a thing, I need a chancellor to be able to imprison him, and I need to go down the path of research that is set by stone cutting in order to do that. So there is a part of me that wants to play the system a little bit, but I don't know enough about the game to necessarily trust my instincts that much. I would rather lean upon the recommendation system for now. So let's go with that. Which one was being recommended? Was it sovereignty? I think it was sovereignty. Yeah, we'll go with sovereignty. Alright, so sovereignty is going to take 4 years. Now we can do something with these units. Let's go ahead and explore a little bit with the warrior here. Ah, there is a pathway through these mountains, interestingly enough. I was kind of curious. All right, so now let's go ahead and found a city. Yeah, let's go ahead and do something that'll give us more orders. So this is going to be a Julius seat, and Antium has been founded immediately. That's pretty cool. So that's a little bit of an introduction to the content and the gameplay of Old World. We are going to be continuing this in a daily series going forward, so don't go anywhere, especially if you're watching this after the video came out. You might have another video to watch in the playlist. But I'm going to stop this one for now, and we will continue with tomorrow's episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this first one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along with this and other future Old World content. New episodes in this series are going to be coming out every day at 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.